I'd like to welcome everyone to this Manor Club Zoom meeting. I'm Maggie Klein, and our guest tonight is Dr. Carolyn Frost. She is a resident of Pelham, and she specializes in promoting health, positivity, self-care, and awareness. She owns Balance Yoga and Wellness in Larchmont, and she lives in Pelham, and she earned her BA in sociology from Iona and an MA in psychology from Teachers College at Columbia, and has her doctoral degree from Columbia. So we would like to welcome Dr. Frost to us today. She's going to talk about creating connection during times of isolation, loneliness, and anxiety. It's all yours, Dr. Frost.
Well, thank you, Maggie, so much. That was actually such a lovely introduction. So I appreciate that. Thank you. So in any case, I just am very happy to be here with all of you today talking about this really important topic. And I know it can be a little bit of a heavy topic, so I want for us to really be able to talk openly about it. Your input is so important, and the more open and honest and interactive this session is, I think it will really be more beneficial for everyone. So please feel free if you have questions, or maybe you can put them in the chat box, and we can answer any questions that way. So just to give you a little bit idea of what we'll do tonight, we will bring awareness to how emotions like anxiety and worry, fear, loneliness, how they show up in our lives. And then we'll work to reframe them so that they become less of this enemy and these negative, obtrusive thoughts that we're trying to sort of squash down or get rid of. And they become more of the experience that we're having at this moment. Tapping into that sense of belonging and connectedness through the lens that we can view uneasy or challenging times like this. We'll review so many ways to both connect to yourself, which is really important and really the basis and foundation of being able to extend that connection to others. And again, I would love to hear your thoughts as we go through, if there's any ways that you have found to be especially helpful, because I'm sure that the group could benefit from them. We'll end tonight with my favorite style of meditation, which is a loving kindness meditation. Some of you may know it. And it's really designed to enhance a sense of belonging and empathy, love, connection. It's a really beautiful way of meditating. Okay, so the first thing I thought maybe we could do, and I don't know if you have like a pen or paper handy or nearby, but maybe to grab one just in case you want to write any thoughts down, but also just as we begin here, just to give yourself a moment to check in. Especially as women, I know it's a lot of women on here, we're so used to checking after everyone else and making sure others are okay, but we're rarely taking the time to do that for ourselves. So give yourself a moment, sit comfortably, take a deep breath, and just ask yourself, how am I feeling? Really feeling like what is the level below, the layer underneath? How am I doing right now? You might think about what's taking up most of your headspace, or maybe more physical sensations that you're aware of in your body. And what we try to find from a practice like this is, number one, it's nice to sort of get it off your chest and often onto paper, which we'll talk a lot about actually as we go through, but just getting a sense that you can welcome whatever it is that shows up here, even those thoughts or emotions that feel heavy, or that I want to push away, or that I don't really agree with, or I don't want to be having, that we can, through these practices that we'll talk about today, that we can begin to develop the sense of acknowledgement that it's okay wherever we are right now, and we bring a sense of acceptance to it. So from this sort of more centered, welcoming place, we'll move on to a little bit about where we might get caught up with feelings like loneliness, anxiety, and worry. And the truth of the matter, and the often unwelcome truth of the matter, is that difficulty and challenge is inevitable. And this unease, it's all just part of life. We cannot escape that reality. And what we might come to find is that it's not the feelings themselves that are causing this unhappiness or this unease in our bodies. It's the sense that we should be feeling something different. And we're not feeling something different because we're not doing it right, or because there's some defect in our character or some inherent unworthiness or wrongness about us. We think we should be happy all the time and that we'll be full of joy and skipping around and a pleasure to those around us because everyone else seems to be. That's what we think in our head. And when we're comparing ourselves to people who have what we want, not necessarily others in our same situation. Do you ever notice that we do that? Right? So that the comparison is not necessarily like to like, but it's me to the exact opposite of me to this thing that I want. And it's that comparison is really the thief of joy, right? We've maybe heard that phrase before. And we think that normal people don't lie awake worried about random things that are never going to happen in the middle of the night, but we do. And we think that other people don't, binge watch Netflix or eat Cheetos for breakfast, but we do. And we think that maybe my friends don't have anxiety about certain things, or that they're not creating excuses why they don't want to go somewhere because they're worried about feeling embarrassed or uncomfortable or judged. But what happens with this is that there's this sense of otherness, that there's a sense of separateness. And we think no one feels this way, it's just me. But really, all of these feelings, they're just the truth of our shared humanity. That this range of human emotions, which includes both positive and what we're sort of calling these negative feelings. And it's this sense of separateness that leads to suffering. And it's this struggle against what is, how I'm feeling right now, and we want it to be different. And it's that space between that gap. And that's where we get caught up, where we get hooked. We're stuck. And we're in a sense of judgment or shame or blame, or there's anger or hurt or fear or worry, whatever it is. But the truth is, we can't change the external world. Events are going to happen. We will inevitably feel disappointed or alone, angry, sad. These are all feelings that we can and we really should have. We're designed to experience, again, this full breadth of human emotion, right? There's this sense that how can you know joy when you haven't experienced sadness? And so with that, what we can do is shift our mindset. So we can work to accept and even welcome, maybe some way down the road, these more challenging emotions and look to them as, yes, they're inevitabilities as part of our life. And when we can approach them with curiosity and openness and awareness, they become more than just this negative feeling. They become an opportunity for us for real inquiry and understanding and growth and progress and awareness to take place. And as far as connection goes, so there's this sense of love and belonging that's an inherent need for all of us. We all are wired to want to feel love and express love and to belong somewhere. It's where we find joy and belonging and appreciation, where we're feeling valued and heard, and where there's empathy and compassion and trust. And so all of these feelings that are just at the heart of who we are, what we really are all searching for. And what happens is we're unconsciously searching for these things in an external avenues. So beauty, power, money. And then we feel let down and disappointed when our attempts to find that happiness, find this internal happiness through these external avenues aren't rewarded, aren't coming to fruition. And so what my approach is that we really need to look inwards to find first that connection, that comfort. And that's where it's true and real. And from this place of deep inner connection, then we can reach out in a meaningful way to others. And so I wanted to spend most of the time today really just walking through some of these practices, and I've grouped them into 3 different groups. So one where it's sort of embodying practices where we're getting more in touch with our own self. Then another where it's all about self-care, self-compassion. And then finally, the third about how we can reach out and connect to others. And so I don't know if anyone has any questions before we go on to any of those other categories. So if you do, you could put them in the chat or unmute, and I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, we can just move on.
I think you move on.
Okay, thanks.
Doing great.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So the embodying practices where the goal is to more closely connect with yourself. So who you are really at your deepest core. Practices like yoga, where you are stretching and breathing. And these don't need to be yoga classes in a yoga studio. This could be you when you wake up in the morning on the rug doing a few cat cows. And when you find that way to connect your breath and the inner sensations, your inner experience, then that's really the yoga. Then you're doing it already. So you don't really need the full practice. It can be helpful to have a guidance, but it's really not necessary. So don't let that stop you. You can do yoga 2 minutes a day. It doesn't need to be an hour. Practices like meditation are very available. There's apps, a million apps that you could do. One that I really like is called Insight Timer. And it's a meditation app. And what's nice about it has guided meditations. And there's some people, for example, Minaj Dias is wonderful. Tara Brach is really good. Some of you might know her. David Gendelman is really good. There's a few, Sarah Blondin. And they have a variety of guided meditations for any experience that you're having. So to work through feelings of worry or loneliness, anxiety, grief, loss, and also things like happiness and gratitude and feeling joy and 1-minute breathing meditations. There's a whole, for anything you need to go to sleep at night. And then also for when you wake up in the middle of the night, there's another meditation for that. So if any of you have kids, there's lots of meditations that you can do with your children that are really beautiful. So you can also just sort of sit quietly, and a lot of people use the breath as a point of focus for the meditation. So, and again, that's the kind of thing that's always with you. You don't need anything to do it, just to be still and quiet. And again, that's the kind of thing that you can do in 1 minute. You don't need a whole meditative practice. Even just a few mindful breaths throughout the day can be really healing and powerful. Breathing practices. So again, simple as stepping away from an intense situation. So where you're feeling anger or sadness, and just even hand to heart, hand to belly, taking 3 slow, steady breaths. Very simple in nature, but also very powerful as a way to create on purpose a space, a gap between you and a reaction. There's also more advanced pranayama, that's what we call it, like a breathing technique that you could practice. You can find all of these on the internet. There's lots of guided breathing meditations on YouTube and things like that. There are grounding practices that are wonderful for those moments of acute or intense worry or panic or unease. And so some of them are walking barefoot. So really getting connected to the ground below you. So take your shoes off, take your socks off, and get barefoot, and either put your feet onto the ground, get them onto the rug, notice what it feels like. Even better if you can get outside, get your feet in the earth, in the grass, in the dirt, on the beach, in the sand. Getting that connection to the ground below you, to the earth, to something bigger than we are, is really powerful. The sense of grounding with your feet on the floor is really stabilizing and keeps you in the present moment, as opposed to in your head where there's so much of this mental chatter, sort of fears and anxieties and worries that can come up. There's a practice, I don't know if it has another name, but I call it 5-4-3-2-1. And some of you I know this practice, but it's again another one of those practices that you can take with you because it's always around you. So it's the five senses. So you think you could sit or stand or however you need. You can take a minute to do this. You can take 10 minutes to do it. And you first think of 5 things that you can see and say them out loud if you can, even if it's just a whisper, because that sort of reinforces the presentness of the situation. So you say 5 things you can see. I see, this computer, I see Carolyn on the screen, I see you guys, I see the clock on the wall. And then you think of 4 things that you can feel. And often it's nice to think about what is connected to the ground, again, because that's very stabilizing and foundational in nature. So it can really help you to calm down in a state of sort of excessive worry and panic and nervousness. Then you would think about 3 things that you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. And you can repeat this practice over and over. But a lot of people find it very soothing, very calming, because again, you're getting out of that mental chatter in your mind where we're like making up all of these things that are probably never going to happen. And instead coming into reality, what's really here. I'm present, I'm focused, I'm here sitting on this chair, I'm okay, I'm safe. There is a practice called RAIN. And maybe some of you know this practice. It's in Buddhist psychology. And there was a woman, Michelle McDonald, who created it many years ago. And Tara Brach, who is a Buddhist psychologist that I really like, she does lots of podcasts and things like that. And she sort of altered it a little bit, but you can think of RAIN as an acronym. So the R stands for recognize. The A is allow, the I is investigate, and Tara Brach changed the N to nurture. And it's really just a practice. And again, it's another one of those things you can Google and look up. There's tons of practices about it available on the podcast app. Tara Brach has a lot of them on there. You could look them up on an app like Insight Timer or Calm or Headspace. And it's a way to come and bring awareness to what's actually going on. So when you're dealing with a difficult emotion, such as feeling worried or feeling lonely, you can come to this practice and say, recognize what is going on here, what's happening, I'm feeling lonely. Can I allow this feeling to be here and not try to change it in any way? Can I sit with the discomfort that it's bringing me? The I is about investigating. So digging a little deeper. Where do I feel this in my body? Where, how is this showing up in my life? And then the N, which is so beautiful, which is what she sort of modified about it, is she often does, hands to your heart and nurture yourself, say something kind to yourself. Or if that's too challenging in the moment, to find or maybe envision a warm sort of person in your life who's caretaker-ish, and imagine them doing it for you, or touching your face, or offering you this nurturing quality. It's going to be okay. And these practices are incredibly powerful, and again, available to you at any point throughout the day, wherever you are. They can be carried with you. There are gratitude practices, again, that are so embodying, where you're finding this way to connect more closely with yourself. So bringing a purposeful awareness to all the good in your life. And Pema Chodron, who's a Buddhist monk, said, the ordinariness of our good fortune can make it hard to catch. And I sort of love that as a way to just remind ourselves that there's so many beautiful things that happen in even these ordinary moments. A popular practice is 3 good things, where at the end of the night, when you're getting into bed, you write down 3 good things that happened today. Sharing the heart is another one, and one of truly my very favorites, because it's a way, again, of helping us remember our connectedness. And this is another one of Pema Chodron's. Some of you may know her. She's written lots of books. She's a wonderful speaker, very down to earth, wonderful woman with a really relatable perspective. And she says, when we encounter pain in our lives, we can breathe into our heart that recognition that others also feel this. So when we're having these moments of deep stress, deep worry, anxiety, that we can come to a place where we can sense that I'm not alone in this. And similarly, when we come across a pleasure or a joy or a tenderness or something that touches our heart in a special way, we can make a wish that others would feel that as well. And just a quick story is the first time that I used this practice was many years ago. And we were at the beach and I was sitting on the sand and my husband, Dave, was in the water with my 4 kids and they were little and they were sort of splashing around and giggling and the sun was shining. And it was one of those moments, right? Like we've all had those that I was caught in it. It was such a beautiful moment full of joy. And if I had let it be that moment, it would have still continued to be this beautiful moment. But I think I must have just read that work or this sharing the heart practice. And I thought to myself, like, let me just wish for others that they could feel this incredible warmth and pure joy that I feel right now watching this scene unfold before me. And in that way, it solidified that experience in my mind and my heart in such a way that magnified the experience for me at 100-fold. It really was a pivotal moment in my own spiritual life where I found how much we can get from wishing well for others. And in that same way, finding that connection that we're not alone when there are moments of sadness, right? Like we all feel this way sometimes. And I think there's a lot to be said for seeking that connection out in those moments. Some other ways are getting outside, right? Reflecting in nature, especially now that the weather is getting nice. Maybe not this week because it's a little rainy, but just being outside, walking around in your yard, being still. Around here, we're lucky because there's lots of different trails around. And even now they opened Glen Island, which I've been walking in the mornings, and it's so quiet and peaceful, and it's on the water, and it's really beautiful. And again, just another way to get outside, feel the wind on your face, the sun on your skin. You'll see, people here and there, there's that moment of interaction and listening to the birds, whatever it is that does it for you, but just being really present and aware, even just for a few breaths out there, can really change the course of your day. Gardening is another one. Some of you might like to garden and grow things, feeling your feet and your hands in the soil, being outside, trying something new. Journaling is another one that a lot of people often come back to as a way of getting some space from your thoughts. And so this simple act of writing it down gets it out of your head and onto paper where you can look at it from a different perspective. So there's tons of ways and tons of different types of journaling to do. You could do gratitude journals. You could do something called morning pages, which is really nice. You can maybe even do something called evening pages, which is just the opposite at night, which essentially is setting a timer for 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. And you just take pen to paper and don't stop writing. And it's sort of like this stream of consciousness that comes out. I actually used to do it with my daughter in the mornings and she got over it, so we don't do it anymore. But it's a really nice way to just empty your mind of all the thoughts that have accumulated either throughout the day or through the night while you were sleeping. And so in this way, starting fresh. Another way that I really like is an evening confidence boost, just to, especially if you're struggling with finding the good things that you're capable of doing, right? Like there's so much negative mental chatter that we have. So finding a sense of confidence to just reflect and again, write it down, because it's so powerful to take that pen to paper. It's one thing to think it in your head, but to physically write it down, you have to articulate it, you have to write it out. And it again solidifies the experience in your mind. So what did I do today that I can feel really good about? Maybe it's that I got up, I took a shower, or maybe it's that, I went for a walk, or I ate really healthy, or I called that friend, or, I smiled at this guy walking down the street. It doesn't need to be a big thing, but it's something that has sparked something in your mind and your heart. And then again, just this sense of mindfulness and how important, and we know it's a little buzzwordy right now, but there's an image that you can visualize. And so if you visualize a circle with a line straight through, so across horizontally, and if we think of everything that's above the line as what's in our conscious awareness, what we're mindful of, and it's often pretty small, right? It's not half and half. If we think about what's below the line is all of those, this outside of our conscious awareness, there's these hidden fears and conditioning and beliefs. And our goal here with mindfulness is to bring more and more and more above the line. And so often we find in our lives that this circle with the line through it, the line's way at the top, and so much is below the line. And so our goal is not to all of a sudden have nothing unconscious and we're mindful all the time, because that's probably not very likely or realistic for us, but to little by little work toward these mindful qualities and mindful habits, such as these ones that we're discussing today. And I'll continue unless anyone has anything else that they want to add about these sort of more personal, self-related ways of connecting.
Carolyn, I just wanted you to repeat the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, I didn't even see these. Okay, so repeat 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I will. I'm happy to. So you think about it as your 5 senses, and to be honest, Maggie, it doesn't really even matter which way you list them. It just sort of naturally you're able to see 5 things. That's sort of the thing you're going to be most able to be aware of in your life or in your visual field. 5 things you can see. Then 4 things you can touch or feel on your skin, so that sense of feeling. 3 things that you can hear. 2 things you can smell. And 1 that you can taste. And again, if you can't think of, if you like don't really have a smell or a taste in your mouth or a smell that you can sort of come back to, you can also just think of one that you really love, like cookies or whatever it is, something that can bring a physical sensation to it. And again, that's the kind of practice you can repeat it over and over, or do it once. If you could do it in 30 seconds almost. And it's a really nice way to get yourself into the present moment. Jamie, the name of the meditation app is that I like is Insight Timer, INSIGHT, and it's totally free. Of course, they have like these add-on courses and things like that that you can do for an additional dollar amount, but most of what you would ever need is for free. And I think mostly for Headspace and the Calm app and things like that, I think that there's often a free offering, and then there's a paid version, and often the free offering is more than enough than you would need. But there are beautiful meditations. There's ones that are 2 minutes up to an hour long, even more than that. There's talks and poems. There's groups that you can join on there. So for people who are feeling anxious in the morning, going to work, whatever it is, there's working women, whatever, any group you can imagine, you can find on these apps and on the internet now.
Are you going to talk about people who escape these feelings by eating or binging on Netflix or doing harmful things?
And that's part of what all of this is though, that instead of participating in those behaviors, and which we all do to some extent, and which is fine and okay, because it's a way for us to cope. And a lot of times it's a way that we cope with these unhealthy, or not unhealthy, but that these sort of unwelcome emotions and feelings in a way that is soothing to us. So maybe we have a glass of wine at the end of the night, or maybe we're having ice cream after dinner, or whatever it is. As long as it feels okay for you, that's fine. If it feels like something that is unhealthy or worrisome to you, that's when you really need to look a little bit deeper. And that's when we come back to this idea that we can sit with discomfort. So often we're trying to numb these feelings or hide them or sort of gloss over them, push them down by participating in these other things, shopping online, binge watching Netflix all day because we don't want to face the realities of our life. And when we're doing that, just that if we're bringing an awareness to it, that's sort of the first step. And once you have that awareness, awareness precedes change. You can't change what you don't know, what you're not aware of. And so these practices are really designed to help you bring awareness to the things that you're doing. And again, this connection to yourself so that you develop trust in yourself and that you develop this sense of awareness, of mindfulness, of a way that you can sit with discomfort. And it's not comfortable, but we're able to do it. No one ever said that our life is supposed to be full of joy and happiness all the time. If we didn't have those moments of sadness or of loss and grief, we would be less able to appreciate all of the positive. So there's this breadth of human emotion and this shared humanity we all want to experience, or maybe not to a certain extent. We're all going to experience this range of emotion and this range of thoughts and feelings. And it's a lot of how we're handling them in our own minds that's important. And there's a phrase or a quote that I love that says, "It's not forever, it's just right now." And I say that a lot in our yoga classes, even just in a physical way, like this pose is not forever, it's just right now. You can sit with the discomfort of it. But all of this, right? There's impermanence to so much of our lives. It's always changing. And so finding that way to sit with whatever comes up again through these practices is really powerful and will be a tool that will serve you throughout your life. And also for those of us who are parents, or with friends or others who we can really role model this for is really important. So how long does it take to quiet the mind? Sometimes trying to quiet the mind, it shifts to work. I find that after 15 seconds, my mind gets distracted. And I think that's the whole practice is not that you're ever, so for example, in meditation, it's not that you're ever just going to sit down and be peaceful and right away you're peaceful and quiet and one with nature and enlightened. It's very much a fact of you keep coming back over and over. Your mind is going to be pulled away 100 times. Even in it's almost hard to take one consistent, steady breath for a lot of us. Never mind staying still for many minutes or an hour on end. And so this is the kind of thing that we keep coming back to and we keep practicing. And it's not a matter of how long will it take, but how much am I willing to sit with what comes up? And how often can I keep bringing my attention back and back and back to the breath or whatever it is that your attention is meant to be focusing on during a meditation? Does that answer your question? I hope so. Yeah. Do we have any other questions before we go on?
We have Eileen here. You cannot heal what you do not feel.
Oh, I don't see that. Oh, I see, Eileen. That's right. That's right. And that's a very good point. And something that we're again so often trying to shove this stuff down and it's under the line. And if we're not aware of it, there's can't change it. So I really like that. You cannot heal what you do not feel. Love that. It's a great way to put it. Okay, so I have some other ways. So that was sort of the first one about these embodying, sort of connecting to yourself, to the core of who you are. These are some that are more about self-care and self-compassion. So taking care of yourself, and especially for women when we are so other focused, very often worried about family members, worried about friends or colleagues, pets, you name it, right? We're always so focused on everyone else. And we need to recognize how important it is to take care of ourselves first. And so this could mean anything. What does this mean for you? Who knows? Maybe it means take a long bubble bath or read a good book or go bird watching or have a movie marathon on a rainy Sunday afternoon. I don't know what it is for you, but that's the kind of thing you try and see what works. Try and see what suits you, what moves you in a way that feels like, gosh, this really feels like I'm taking care of myself. I have a spray, like a eucalyptus spray that I put in the shower, and I just spray these like 3 squirts, but I got it on Amazon, and it makes me so happy every single time I take a shower because it's this one small little thing, but for me, that really feels like self-care. That feels like that extra little thing that makes even a shower feel sort of luxurious. So find those little things, find the big things wherever they are, wherever you can find them. One that I think is really important is to move your body every single day. And moving, and importantly, this distinction of moving to feel good in your own skin, not to punish yourself for eating too much cake last night or for you had that cheat day yesterday. Move because your body is designed to move. So this doesn't mean you need to do an hour-long power hit class. This could mean going for a walk with your friend around the block, or going around the house doing a little bit more activity than you might otherwise do, going to get that thing from upstairs rather than sending the kids up to get it. Whatever it means for you, just to find that activity in your life. And the more you move, the more it becomes something that your body is looking for. You can do online things through YouTube. There's a million apps that you can go on. Yoga obviously is a favorite of mine, and a way that you can, again, just find movement in a way that suits you. And something else, really just eating well. What foods help you feel healthiest? What foods make you feel most alive? And not that you're sitting on the couch after dinner, like unbuttoning your pants because you ate so much. Where is that place where you're nourishing yourself in a way that feels good in your body? What are the foods that do that for you? Drink lots of water. Get enough sleep. How many of us are getting enough sleep? Probably so few. And yes, everyone's need for sleep varies greatly, but maybe go to bed an hour earlier, see what you notice, see how it feels. Things like playing white noise can be helpful if you have trouble sleeping, or the apps are really good for stuff like that. Take a nap. What's better than an afternoon nap when you can do it? Enjoy quiet time for yourself every day. So solitude, being alone on purpose because you are learning to enjoy your own company. Taking time to reflect on your day or an encounter or an experience you had. And again, writing this down, let it be solidified in your mind as this important, even if it's small. This was something that happened today in my life. Don't underestimate the power of positive self-talk. So much of the mental chatter that's in our mind is negative, and it becomes the background static. We don't even recognize it. Again, it's sort of below that line. And when we can bring awareness to how often so much of our self-talk is negative, we can then work to change it. We can then work to bring, even if positive self-talk feels like too much of a step, you can bring neutral self-talk into it, where it's not, oh God, I can't believe I did that, or why I'm so stupid, why would I do that? If that feels like too much of a jump to be like, I'm amazing, everything I do is wonderful, you can say, I'm working really hard to be kind to myself, right? So find that middle way that feels believable to you. And when we start thinking things like this, when we start on purpose saying things like this, that becomes the thing that our brain is searching for confirmation of. So often we're thinking this maybe negative thought, and our brain is searching for confirmation that it's true, and it's going to find it somehow. And so instead, find that neutral thought, find that positive thought, and allow your brain to find confirmation of that instead. And work that builds trust in yourself, builds trust in your character and your qualities and your strengths, and is a really positive, important, powerful way to sort of go through life saying good things to yourself. Think about how you would talk to a friend, and that leads us into self-compassion. So self-compassion is a lot of, there's a researcher called Kristen Neff, Neff, and she does a lot of the work on self-compassion. She has a website and all this, like where you can take quizzes and things like that. And she has lots of tips for how to be more self-compassionate to yourself. But, and you've probably heard of this term, but the way that I really like to think about it is talking to yourself like you would to a dear friend. And think about some of the stuff we say to ourselves. Would you ever say that to another human being in this world? No. And so allowing yourself, giving yourself that same respect and compassion when something maybe doesn't go exactly as you had planned, and allowing yourself that same, again, just some sense of compassion that you would give to a trusted friend. Pursue creative outlets. What does this mean for you? I don't know. Maybe it's dancing, maybe singing, maybe knitting or photography or painting, or what is it that is going to satisfy those creative juices? And this is another really nice way that you can get out of your comfort zone. Maybe if you don't really have one, if you think like, I have always thought of myself as like, I'm not very creative. I can't draw, I can't paint, I don't sing, but there's other ways to be creative. For me, it's become yoga. And so what could it be for you? Sometimes we have to think outside of the box a little bit. Um, Listen to something motivational. And I am a big believer in this. The more positivity you're bringing into your life, surrounding yourself with positive people. And so I go for a walk in the morning and I'm always listening to sort of self-help style things. And there's lots of books on Audible that I really like. There are by sort of motivational books that you can listen to. There's podcasts. Again, Tara Brach, who I really love, has a podcast that has probably hundreds of talks, and then she does a meditation as well. There are people like Brene Brown, who she's got a great one where it's more like a talk, so it's really nice to listen to on Audible. But seeking out what speaks to you, what speaks to your heart, where are you headed, and surrounding yourself with that, surrounding yourself with positivity is really important and powerful. One that I really, it sort of seems simple, but decluttering your space, your sleeping space, your closet, get rid of the stuff you don't want in your life, make room for the things that you do. Say no when that's what you really want to say. How many of us just say yes to everything that comes our way because we're either afraid to say no, we don't want to disappoint people, we don't want people to judge us, but sometimes like we really don't want to go there. Don't go. What's the big deal? Give yourself that permission. Watch your favorite movies, read your favorite books, all of these ways that you can take care of yourself. Again, say something kind to yourself when you look in the mirror. And again, for women, this is a big one because how often is the talk when we're looking in the mirror, sort of like looking to the side and, oh my God, I can't believe my stomach looks like this. And I can't wear this. I can't wear these jeans. And instead, could you find something to like about it, to like about that reflection in the mirror, and say it out loud for that added bonus of hearing it repeated back to you? Say it out loud a few times. And the other things, and then just thinking about technology and how much of a presence it has in our life. And can we just disconnect a little bit? And there's so many different ways. Maybe you can put your phone on mute or on airplane mode, even for an hour of the day, or don't charge it in the bedroom where you're sleeping. Maybe leave the phone outside. Unfollow social media accounts that don't suit you, that aren't agreeing with the person who you're working toward becoming. Take a break from the news. Sometimes we need a break from sort of the bad news that's around us. Declutter your inbox, unsubscribe from emails, right? Just as a way to sort of pare it down to the things that really matter to you. So again, finding this connection to your own self. And again, one that I really think is important is to challenge yourself, to try something new, to learn, to grow. When we're progressing, when we feel like there's growth, there's meaning. And when there's meaning, it's hard to, or it's easier to find that sense of purpose and connection to something greater than just ourselves. And in that sense, it can be a really motivating factor. And also just to keep in mind that there's help out there when you need it. There's therapy, there's hotlines, there's support groups, there's online things, there's meditation groups, there's a group for literally anything you could imagine, right, on the internet. So seek help when you need it, when you want it, when you feel like it will make a difference for you. Before I move on to sort of the reaching out to others, are there any questions on that piece or that component of it? Okay, so connecting with others, and this is a lot of, that old adage of someone writes illness and wellness on a board and says, what is the difference? And the difference is the I of illness and the we of wellness. And with this idea that we're not happy, we're not at our best when we're I focused, when we're working toward connecting with others, the sense of belonging and community, that's when we're at our best. And so, ways that we can find that connection with others are clubs, to be honest, clubs like this Manor Club and Maggie putting together programs like this, where you, as a community of like minded people, can come together on a Monday night and be able to do something or listen to something, participate in something that is meaningful to you. And there's tons of clubs like this around if you seek them out. But the Manor Club is a wonderful one that puts on all of these programs for you. So joining things like this, being a joiner. And one that I think is very important is volunteering. And I know that many of you do this with this sense of helping others, because your time, your attention matters. It matters a lot. And finding a place where you can combine one of your passions or one of your hobbies and helping others, and your life will never be the same. You can reach out to others who may be lonely or anxious. You can really listen to what someone is telling you, full attention, no distractions. How often are we, and I know I do this all the time to my poor kids, and I'll be like on the phone, not even listen, less than halfway listening to them. And they're like telling me something in my ear, and I'm not even looking at them. And so, sort of putting down the distraction, letting it go, because that's what we're all really after, right? Is this sense of belonging, that I'm feeling seen and heard for who I am. And when that happens, and wherever it happens, in therapy and these places where we're really truly valued and seen, are really powerful ways that we can acknowledge this close relationship, this community with others. And we can practice random acts of kindness, like the idea of like paying for the person behind you's cup of coffee and things like that in line at Dunkin' Donuts or whatever it is. And no, when you do these things, notice, yes, it's making their day, but how good does that make you feel to be someone who does something like this for others? I mean, it brightens your whole entire day, and it costs what, $1.50? Um, Smiling at strangers. And I often think of this when on my walk, just smiling and waving to everybody, because there's those few people who sort of look back at you and you have that sense of connection. It's not everybody, but those moments of connection with a stranger, how wonderful that you could have even just that split second of a connection, of a feeling seen from some random person walking in the road. It's heartwarming. Technology again, so just technology, and sort of the flip side of letting go of technology, but also embracing all of the wonderful things that technology allows us. For example, these Zoom meetings and things like that, FaceTime. There's apps like House Party where you can get a group of people on together. There's something called a gratitude buddy, which is a really nice option for, like, at the end of the night, if you have a friend who's sort of on a similar path toward as you are toward finding this connection, or relating in a deeper way to each other. You could text each other one or two things at the end of the night that you feel grateful for. And so it holds you accountable in a way, and it's a way to reach out with someone. And I think just a really great way to find that awareness, presence, and connection. Another one is get a pet. I don't know. We just have a little puppy now who's 7 months old, and she is warms my heart every minute of the day that I'm with her. And so maybe if a pet is not for you, get a plant or get something small that you can take care of that relies on you almost, right? There's this sense of, especially from a pet though, I think, right, that unconditional love that feels so good. Think about saying something genuine or kind to a family member before they leave the house for the day. How often are we just like rushing around and sort of zipping away back and forth and just, okay, bye, have a good day, see you later? Could you maybe just pause for 1 second and say, hey, I know you have that important meeting today. I really hope it goes well. I'll be thinking about you. It takes, I don't know, 10 seconds of your time, but these things when they're repeated, they form those deeper connections that we're looking for. And calling friends and loved ones. And even right now, you could make a list of 3 people that you feel that you can reach out to in your life when you're feeling anxious or worried. Or lonely or needing someone to talk to, and use it. You might even make a list of 3 people who you haven't spoken to in a while that you want to reach out to this week. And it's all of these ways, they are big and small, but they add up to a lot. They add up to a really meaningful way of, again, first connecting with yourself, because that's the basis, that's the foundation. And then bringing that connection outward to others around you and to the bigger sense, the bigger community around you. I don't know if anyone has any questions about that or any other thoughts to add, things that have worked for them in the past. If not, I would love to close with a meditation. And again, this is my favorite kind of meditation. It's called loving kindness or a metta meditation. And it's straightforward, again, always available. You can do a guided version of this or not. There's no sort of rules one way or another. It's a really nice way to cultivate an overall sense of well-being, of happiness, resilience, and enhancing, again, that sense of connectedness. So if you sit comfortably, we'll do sort of an abbreviated version of it. But know that this practice is the kind of practice that could go on for 30 minutes. We won't do 30 minutes. We'll just do a few minutes. But so sit comfortably. You might close the eyes. Feel your feet on the floor. Take a few steady breaths. Breathing in and out through the nose. That's sort of that relaxation response kicks in when we're breathing in and out through the nose. And just sense around your heart space. You may even bring a hand there just to get a physical sort of orientation of your heart space. And get a vision in your mind's eye of yourself. So this you with all of your hopes and dreams, wishes, faults, even those painful parts that are maybe hard to see or acknowledge, parts that feel unworthy, unwelcome, parts that are full of love and happiness, all of you, all of it. And envisioning this version of yourself, maybe you have a little smile on your face. Repeat these wishes silently to yourself. May I be safe. May I be happy and healthy. May I accept what is. May I live my life with ease. Just breathing that in, what that feels like to speak those words to yourself. It's unconditional love. You might sense a softening around your heart space. And then extending these wishes, visualize someone you love deeply and completely. Maybe a child, maybe a dear friend, a pet, whoever it is. This is that kind of that love that's always there, full, complete love. Picture their face smiling at you. Feel that softening around your heart. And extend these wishes to them. May you be safe. May you be happy and healthy. May you accept what is. May you live your life with ease. Take a full breath, really sensing how it feels to extend this warmth outward. And then we bring our attention to someone who's a little bit challenging in your life right now. Doesn't need to be the most difficult relationship you have, but someone with whom you might not see eye to eye with right now. Get a visualization of their face, of all the things that make them who they are, all of their experiences and wishes and hopes. And extend this wish to them. May you be safe. May you be happy and healthy. May you accept what is. May you live your life with ease. Soften through the shoulders. Relax around your heart space. Sense the warmth and openness that comes from extending this love out to someone who challenges you, who's difficult to be around, maybe. There's real beauty in that. And then we extend these wishes to, broadening out the circle to family and friends, to pets, to acquaintances and people that we see in the coffee shop or driving on the street, people in our community. And really, you can go as big as you like with this to all beings, all over the world. And extending this same, may you be safe. May you be happy and healthy. May you accept what is. May you live your life with ease. Just taking a few breaths here, just to soak it all in. This unconditional love. You have the power, the ability to offer it out whenever you like. And I'll end with a quote from Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, that I really love. And he says, if you could only sense how important you are to the lives of those you meet, how important you can be to the people you may never even dream of, there is something of yourself that you leave at every meeting with another person. Anyway, so thank you for being here with me today. And thank you, Maggie, for having me. I'm so happy to see all of you. Thank you for joining. I'm here if you have any questions. And if you have, I could maybe send Maggie some of the resources that I was talking about, some of the people that I really like to follow. And I don't know, Maggie, you have people's email addresses. I don't know. Or you can also reach out to me if you have questions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Carolyn. That was fabulous.
I'm so glad, Eileen. Thank you.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Enjoy the night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good
job,
thank you.
Mommy.
Thank you.
Oh,
You did great. Thank you.
Good
girl.
job, Mommy.
Thanks, honey. Thanks, Jamie, for being here. Thanks, Caroline. Thanks, everyone.
I'm a California groupie of Maggie's programs.
Oh, how nice. Oh, so it's early still for you, 5:30.
Yeah.
Love it. Maggie, how cool. You're bi-coastal.
Right.
Love it.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank
Thank you, Maggie. Thanks for having me.